simplistic answer is that you know, you're a threat. Dissent is always threatening to whatever you know, the orthodoxy of whoever happens to be in power at that time wants you to believe.
Should we be more skeptical as a public? Are we too complacent?
Of course. I mean, we're talking earlier about leaps of faith. I mean, I think the real issue when you're talking about conspiracy theories or any of this stuff is how do we know what we know? And the conclusion that I think the only conclusion you can come to is that we all come to our lives and to you know, to participating in the society with certain belief systems. What are the roots of those belief systems? Those are the things we have to question. Where are we getting our information? What is the quality of that information? Is there any agenda behind the information?
Now look at the era we're in, the kind of the internet era. It seems like information's being consolidated to where more and more and more we all think the same thing. I mean, on the one hand, I know the internet opens a portal for people who want to look, but for people who don't want to look, it just seems like information is even more kind of commodified.
I actually think there's two layers that are happening here. There's a mass media layer that is becoming very concentrated, and then underneath you've got this internet layer, which is actually very open. And if you forget the U.S. for a second, but around the rest of the world, go to other countries that have had no freedom of thought for a long time, the internet's unbelievable for them because it truly is creating new frames.
Is it crazy to think that the government could use the internet as a way to basically control all information, everything about you?
It's highly unlikely at this point that they could do that.
That is crazy, actually.
That's crazy?
Well, I mean, I think that's crazy because I think the internet actually has the exact opposite effect. I mean, if anything, the internet is going to make it extremely difficult, if not impossible, for the government to control information. I mean, you know, you can try, and I'm sure that, you know, corporations and the internet has already become very commercialized, and the same, you know, corporate interests control that control, you know, television, whatever, but the basic structure of the internet is essentially free, and it always will be.
And that's not going to change.
I mean,
that's never going to change.
As long as you have the right to put a website up, as long as you have the right to send email, it's hard to see how that would change.
Yeah, that's why they have systems like Echelon, and they have these backdoor systems where they can actually spy on people when they're up on the web and see what they're looking at. And there's a lot of loose information there, and they're making an effort to try to control it.
I guess the reason I asked it is, you know, that feeling that I log on, you know, and everything I do is recorded somewhere. Well, everywhere I go, every site I go to, everything I look at, everyone I talk to.
Yes, elements are recorded, but you got to remember the needle in the haystack theory. There's so much noise, so much information that the odds of whatever you're doing standing out become smaller and smaller. So there's too much stuff going on around you.
You know, the internet, though, is a great surveillance method. I mean, the facts are that, you know, before, in order to find out what, you know, certain subversive groups or people labeled as crackpots would, what they thought and what they were talking about, you had to actually go out there and infiltrate the groups.
Stick something hard.
Yeah, whereas now they can just log on to my website and they know exactly what these people are thinking.
And they might be doing that after this show. All right, when we come back, we're going to get into some final thoughts and answer the question, if we can, of how you can tell when a conspiracy's now been proven. Stay with us.
Next century of media control. Will it be a free flow of information or a web of government regulation? Join host Eric Burns for a new Millennium Special.
Oh, he's on tour? Yeah. You know why? Because they're all British agents, intelligence agents. They're spies. Jerry Garcia himself is a 00 rating, just like James Bond.
Jerry Garcia's dead.
That's what they want you to think.
Welcome back to the Full Nelson. We're talking about whether they are out to get us. All right. You know, conspiracies are hard to prove, but I think everybody pretty much thinks the JFK thing was a conspiracy. I know you don't agree with that, but as a public, we largely do. Martin Luther King seems to be the newest one, in which now there's a kind of a consensus that Martin Luther King was killed by a conspiracy. And there was a trial finding in a civil case in Tennessee where a jury said, basically, there was a conspiracy. Now, I don't know if that makes it a fact, but it certainly suggests it's no longer wacko to think that.
It was actually a strategy. There was a judgment against this person for $100, and any jury of 12 people would think $100, that's not much. The King family did that deliberately in order to get this legal decision to urge a new investigation. And that's what's really going on.
And will it?
That's not settled.
Will it trigger a new investigation?
That's the plan. We'll see.
But I mean, what, and Jonathan, again, on your net, but just jump in if you want on this. What makes a conspiracy, you know, what sort of proves it to us? When does it become fact? I mean, you don't, you know, I think JFK happened. Most people do. I know you do, Jonathan.
Well, I mean, that's certainly one case where I think that all the evidence indicates that.
I mean, David disagrees, but I mean, despite that, for the most part, as a public, we think it happened. Why?
Right.
What happens that it becomes accepted fact? It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. It's a fact.
Well, I think it becomes accepted fact. Well, you know, it becomes largely accepted when you have that, what I was talking about before, a massive accumulation of data that seems to point in one direction. But I think the question of, well, is this proven or not proven, is not a valid question to ask about conspiracy theories or almost anything. I mean, even in a court of law, you're not asked to prove something. You're asked to demonstrate that it could be true beyond a reasonable doubt in a criminal. Because we recognize, even in our legal system, we recognize that absolute knowledge is impossible.
So you would say Kennedy was proven beyond a reasonable doubt? Martin Luther King?
Would I say that the conspiracy was proven beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say at this point it's proven beyond most doubt. I mean, I don't know if what's out there now would stand up in a court of law, because I don't know who would be on trial. Well, the Martin Luther King thing, I think, you know, in a way, I'm a little worried about this recent trial, because the trial itself was it was a one-sided affair. And in a way, I'm a little concerned that this is going to be used by people who don't think there was a conspiracy there to say, look, this was a sham, and it's almost being used to discredit the conspiracy.
Let me ask you guys, what's going to be the next big conspiracy that's going to kind of break and become, wow, we believe it now, they were hiding it?
My favorite speculation is that the Y2K computer bug, when we wake up, as we have today on January 1st, seeing that nothing actually happened, that the Y2K computer bug was just a giant conspiracy on the part of computer programmers to make more money fixing it.
Intentional?
Yes.
An intentional thing?
I'm not making it up, but I mean, just saying, that's like...
No, I mean, but you really believe that?
No, I don't. I don't at all.
Okay.
I'm saying, you know, you asked me.
I didn't think you did, but I thought maybe you had one real conspiracy you thought.
Rob, I think most of our conspiracy theories have revolved around government in the past, and I think lately people have become more attuned to what sorts of power are held within corporations, within private hands. I think you'll see more conspiracy theory about that issue and more hard fact about that issue, how corporate power works. Yeah. The recent battle in Seattle over WTO is a great example of how people are getting turned on to that issue.
I've done 2 books about this. The idea of the transnational cabal, the transnational power thing. It's the octopus, is what a writer named Danny Casolaro called it, who died under mysterious circumstances. My co-author of that book died under mysterious circumstances a month ago, and I think you're going to see that.
Like a transnational world power thing. All right, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you guys for being here. Jonathan in LA, thank you. Everybody in the audience and you at home for watching. If I'm not here next week, they are out to get us.
This channel has been liberated.